Jafayan arrived at the fishing village with 8,000 yuan in cash, ready to seal the deal. The fish were packed, the contract was signed, and everything was set. But just as the loading was about to begin, the fishermen stopped everything. They wanted more money. Standing at the front was Suyan, Chen Su's nephew, sharp, confident, and dangerous. A talented lawyer working for a foreign firm, and right now he was staring Jafayan down like this was a courtroom. Jafayan, top quality wild yellowtail, is going for 5,000 yen per caddy right now. You're offering 15,000 total. That's robbery. But Jafayan didn't flinch. He just smiled. The contract is already signed. The prices are fixed. But if there's something to discuss, we can talk. After the fish are loaded. Fresh fish won't wait. He moved toward the live water tank. And that's when Chen Su stepped out from the crowd, arms wide open, blocking the way. Who dares touch my fish? Jafayan's eyes went cold. We signed a contract. Delivery today? Cash payment? Are you seriously going to break it? Chen Su smirked. That contract? That's just a scrap of paper. Everything should be based on fair value. Freedom of contract. High-end restaurants are selling yellowtail for 6,000 to 7,000 yuan. Some premium cuts go for tens of thousands at auction. What you're offering isn't fair at all. Jafayan took a slow breath. Then he spoke. Mr. Su, that's the final retail price at luxury restaurants, not the supply price. And more importantly, half a year ago, during the closed season, when nobody had income and everyone was struggling, I gave you all a guaranteed minimum wage. You weren't talking about freedom of contract back then. He pointed toward the dock. That deep water cold chain facility down there, I invested 1.2 million upfront to expand it. Those high capacity, storm resistant cages, I gave them to you as a gift. If we're really talking about free market costs, shouldn't all of that be factored in? Chen Su fired back immediately. You did that voluntarily. Nobody asked you to. That's just your marginal transaction cost for securing resources. It has nothing to do with our fish prices. Jafayan blinked. Marginal transaction cost. 6 months ago, this man was a humble fisherman who only ever said, "Boss, thank you." And now he was throwing around legal economics like a textbook. It hit him instantly. Suyan had coached him. This whole thing was a setup. Jafayan said nothing more. He pulled out his phone, snapped a photo of the 8 million yuan sitting on the dock, and made a single phone call. Lin Yao, block all equipment at the deep water cold chain dock. Cut the power to the refrigeration system. Now. The crowd went quiet. Then Chen Su exploded. Jafayan, what are you doing? Simple, Jafayan said, already turning to leave. I'm withdrawing my investment and terminating the contract. He walked away without looking back. Behind him, Suyan laughed out loud. You're bluffing. You think we can't survive without you? Jafayan didn't even turn his head. He just said quietly, then good luck. The fishermen erupted in cheers. They thought they'd won. They thought they'd finally gotten rid of him. Only one person ran after him, a simple fisherman named Ashwa. Jafayan, I'll sell you my fish at the original price. Deal, Jafayan said. I'll buy everything you have. From behind, Chen Su's voice boomed across the dock. Ashwa, you sell to him and you'll never work on this boat again. But Ashwa didn't move. She stood right beside Jafayan, calm, steady, loyal. And Jafayan knew the real show hadn't even started yet. The next morning, the pier was buzzing with excitement. Suyan had actually pulled it off. He'd found a buyer, a man named Chief Han, who rolled up in a luxury car, gold chain gleaming, radiating the energy of new money. Relax, everyone, Chief Han announced with a big grin. 3,000 yuan per caddy, cash payment. My refrigerated trucks will be here shortly. I guarantee every fish arrives in the capital alive. The fisherman's eyes went wide. Double the original offer. The cheering was immediate. Chen Su was absolutely beaming. You see, Suyan came through. Our fish were always worth this price. Jafayan leaned against his car across the dock, arms folded, watching in silence. Then Chief Han walked up to the live water tanks, and his smile disappeared. Every single fish was dead. What happened? Yesterday they were jumping. One of the fishermen went pale. They cut the electricity last night. The cultivation system shut down. Suyan snapped around, furious. You did this on purpose. This is sabotage. Jafayan tilted his head. Sabotage? That's my cultivation equipment. I pay the electricity bill. What exactly is the problem with me turning off my own power? The fishermen rushed to operate the machines themselves, but every single one demanded a password and fingerprint verification. Locked. Completely locked. Chief Han spun toward Jafayan, sweating. Name your price. Rent it to me. Sorry, Jafayan said simply. We don't lend it out. This is a technology monopoly. Ashwa stepped forward, carrying her box of fish. Chief, here are my fish, she said. I glanced inside. The large goldfish were still jumping around, completely alive. How did you keep them alive? I asked, genuinely impressed. She smiled. Last night, when I heard they were cutting off the electricity, I moved all the fish to the deep-sea cages, where the seawater flows naturally. They didn't suffocate. Clever. Without hesitation, I pulled out cash right there on the spot. 1,500 wen per kilo. I handed Ashwa the full amount, exactly 500,000 wen in cold, hard cash, right there on the pier. The other fishermen stared, wide-eyed, watching the money change hands. I then led Ashwa toward the only preservation corridor that was still functioning, the one I had reserved specifically for people who keep their word. But suddenly, Suqiang lunged forward, blocking our path. "Why does he get to use it and we don't?" he shouted. I stared at him coldly. "Because he keeps his word. You don't." I placed my fingerprint on the scanner. The heavy door to the preservation corridor slowly opened. Ashwa's fish were quickly loaded onto a professional refrigerated truck, safe and sound. Meanwhile, behind me, chaos unfolded. The other fishermen's fish were being pulled from the tanks, floating belly up, one after another. Uncle Chen collapsed to his knees, clutching a dead fish in his trembling hands, sobbing uncontrollably. "It's over. It's all over," he whispered, devastated. The boss, his face dark and grim, looked at the dead fish and shook his head. "I don't buy dead fish. You guys figure it out yourselves." With that, he turned to leave. Suqiang grabbed him desperately. "Boss, you can't leave. We signed a contract." The boss yanked his arm free. "Contract? Your fish are all dead. What contract are you talking about?" I sat in my car watching the entire circus unfold before me. Suddenly my phone rang. It was Ling Xiao. "Boss, someone's been secretly investigating our special steel. It has to be a lawyer hired by Suqiang." I gave a cold smile. "Let him investigate. The deeper he digs, the worse his end will be." On the third day, Boss Wan suddenly returned. And he didn't come empty-handed. He brought refrigeration equipment and a team of technicians. "Uncle Chen," he announced proudly, "I, Wan, am loyal. I brought the equipment myself. Let's start again." Hope sparked in the fishermen's eyes. "There's still a chance," they cheered. "This time it'll work for sure." Suqiang was even more arrogant now. "Boss, you see, without you, the world keeps turning just fine." I leaned against my car, silent, watching everything unfold. Boss Wan's men began installing the new cultivation equipment into the live water tanks. But the moment they connected the power, the equipment let out a shrill, ear-piercing alarm. "What's wrong?" someone shouted. The technician spent what felt like forever inspecting everything, sweat pouring down his face. Finally, he looked up, defeated. "Chief, the connections on these tanks are a special size. Our equipment doesn't fit." Boss Wan frowned. "Then modify the connections." The technician shook his head. "Impossible. The material of this tank is also special. If we forcibly modify it, we'll break the seal. The fish will die anyway." Boss Wan's face twisted in frustration. "So what do we do?" The technician could only shake his head again. "There's nothing we can do unless we use the original factory equipment. Otherwise, there's no solution." Boss Wan glared at me, fury burning in his eyes. "Chief Han, name your price. Rent me the equipment." I smiled calmly. "Sorry, we don't lend it out." His face turned red with rage. "Don't push it. This is a technology monopoly. I'm going to sue you." But just as those words left his mouth, a sleek black executive SUV pulled up at the dock. The door opened, and out stepped Ling Xiao in her high heels, holding a thick stack of documents. "Who wants to sue our company?" she asked, her voice ice cold. Suqiang stepped forward, trying to sound confident. "You're monopolizing the technology. That's a violation of antitrust laws." Ling Xiao calmly opened the folder. "This is our company's portfolio. 127 registered patents. They cover all the key technologies for offshore aquaculture, live water preservation, and cold chain transport." She began throwing document after document in front of Suqiang. "This is the Ministry of Agriculture certificate Certificate of Recognition for New Fishing Facilities. This is the exclusive dock usage right approved by the Ocean Administration. This is the tamper-proof online traceability system. Each document bore a bright red official seal. Su Qiang's face grew paler with every page. Ling Xiao looked at him coldly. Mr. Su, you're legal counsel for a foreign company, right? Then you should know. Patent protection is a legal right, not a monopoly. What you're doing is maliciously attacking legitimate technical barriers. Su Qiang tried to justify himself, but Ling Xiao cut him off with a sarcastic smile. Then may I ask, why didn't you question any of this when you signed the contract? Now that you've breached it, you suddenly want to question our legitimate rights? Su Qiang was speechless. Boss Wan realized something was very, very wrong. He tried to sneak toward his car, but Ling Xiao's voice rang out. Boss Wan, don't leave so quickly. I still have something to tell you. He froze. What is it? Ling Xiao smiled coldly. Yesterday, you agreed to buy at 3,000 yuan per kilo. Now, even though the fish are dead, the contract is still valid. Just because the fish died doesn't mean the contract is automatically void. She pulled out another stack of documents. You signed a guaranteed minimum purchase agreement. Regardless of whether the fish are alive or dead, you must pay 30% as a deposit, as agreed. Boss Wan snatched the documents and stared at them, his face turning green. But here's the twist. Su Qiang had signed the agreement on behalf of the fishermen to reassure Boss Wan. He'd added this clause on his own, without telling anyone. Boss Wan's head snapped towards Su Qiang, and he exploded, pointing and shouting curses at him. Look what you've done for him. Suyan was panicking now, his carefully constructed plan unraveling right in front of everyone. He kept insisting he did it all for the village, for the fishermen, for the community. But Uncle Chen wasn't having it. He rounded on Suyan immediately, demanding to know why the warehouse situation had never been mentioned, why that detail was conveniently left out of all his grand speeches about freedom and fair value. Suyan stammered. No words came out. That's when Jafean stepped in, calm, composed, unbothered. Just a moment, how's our fish shop doing? Ashua's merchandise was already secured. Everything was fine on his end. He turned to the fishermen one last time and gave them a quiet, almost generous smile. Gentlemen, even without business, we're still neighbors. I'll take my leave. He got into the car, and as it pulled away, Jafean glanced into the rearview mirror, just in time to see Uncle Chen grab Suyan by the collar. The whole dock erupted into chaos, but inside the car, there was only silence. Lin Yao slid a report across the seat. Boss, we dug into Chief Han's background. He's a repeat offender. He buys dead and rotten fish, treats them with chemicals, then resells them as live premium stock. Jafean squinted at the document. A slow smile crept across his face. Interesting. It seems this story isn't over just yet. 3 days later, Ashua called. Chief, something serious has happened in the village. Jafean arrived at the pier and smelled it before he even saw it. A thick, suffocating stench hanging in the air like a wall. And there they were, thousands of yellowtail, dead, piled along the shoreline, rotting in the sun, worth millions of yuan, and now worth nothing. The fishermen had searched frantically for Chief Han, but he was already gone, vanished without a trace, taking everything with him. Uncle Chen sat huddled on the ground, arms wrapped around himself, looking like he'd aged a decade overnight. The other fishermen stood around him, hollow-eyed, desperate, crushed. They hadn't even paid back their bank loans. Their capital was gone. Everything was gone. Suyan hid somewhere in the back of the crowd, too ashamed to show his face. Then someone spotted Jafean. Chief Han is here. Every head turned. And then, one by one, the fishermen began to move toward him. Uncle Chen crawled forward and wrapped both arms around Jafean's legs, sobbing openly. Chief An, please, buy them at the original price. 1,000 per kilo? No. 500? Even 100? Please? Jafean looked down at the pile of rotting fish, then back at Uncle Chen. Uncle Chen, he said quietly, are you joking? More fishermen fell to their knees, begging, pleading, saying they were wrong, that greed had blinded them, that they deserved another chance. A few days ago, these same men were cheering his departure. They were going to throw the fish into the sea before selling to him. Jafean crouched down and looked Uncle Chen directly in the eyes. Uncle Chen, do you know the difference between a live fish and a dead fish? Silence. He stood up and pointed at the rotting pile on the shore. A live fish is called seafood. A dead fish is called garbage. garbage. He pulled out his phone and opened a market page, holding it up for everyone to see. Right now, the going rate for large dead fish in decent condition is 50 yuan per catty, and that's only for good relations. These fish are rotten. If I accepted them, the transportation cost alone would eat any profit. I'd be paying to take your garbage. Uncle Chen crumbled completely. Jafean turned and walked toward his car, but before he could reach it, Suyin burst out from the crowd, rushing forward to block his path. Jafean, this isn't entirely my fault. You cut off the electricity on purpose. You're responsible for this too. Jafean stopped walking. He turned slowly. My responsibility? His voice was steady, almost amused. My equipment, my shop, my electricity bill. When I choose to use my own property, that's my business, Mr. Su. He tilted his head. You're a lawyer, so tell me, who breached the contract first? Who was giving speeches about freedom of contract? And now that things have fallen apart, you want to point the finger at me? Suyin's mouth opened. Nothing came out. Jafean looked out across the gathered fishermen. His voice rose, not with anger, but with the quiet weight of a man who had been patient for far too long. Half a year ago, you had nothing to eat. I guaranteed you a minimum income. You had no equipment. I spent 1.2 million building this pier. You couldn't raise fish. I gave you deep sea cages for free. And how did you repay me? You signed a contract, then raised the price, then broke the contract. And now that everything has collapsed, you come to me asking me to collect your garbage. The silence was absolute. Sorry, Jafean said. I don't collect garbage. He got in the car and didn't look back. In the rearview mirror, he watched Uncle Chen snatch a dead fish off the ground and hurl it directly at Suyin's face. It's all your fault. All of this. Because of you. The other fishermen surged forward. Suyin turned and ran, arms over his head, stumbling across the dock. Inside the car, Lin Yao handed Jafean a document with a quiet smile. Jafean, Ashua's delivery reached Mr. Li without a problem. He's extremely satisfied. He's offering 8,000 yuan per catty and wants long-term cooperation. Jafean nodded slowly. And Ashua? She's earned over 2 million. She's completely stunned. She keeps saying she wants to take you out to dinner. Jafean looked out the window at the open water. Tell her to work hard. There will be many more opportunities. Then Lin Yao's expression shifted. Director, someone just posted online that you're an unscrupulous merchant who deliberately harms fishermen. It's spreading. Jafean's eyes narrowed. Find out who posted it. We already did, Lin Yao said. It's Suyin. A cold smile. That kid never learns. Then Lin Yao held up a tablet. There's something else. Last night, Suyin was caught on surveillance sneaking around Ashua's floating cages. Jafean watched the footage. Suyin, moving in the dark, circling the cages slowly. Careful, calculated. He wants to steal Ashua's fish. We called the police, Lin Yao said. Jafean shook his head. No, don't. Let him steal. Lin Yao blinked. Director, let him steal until he destroys himself. The weeks that followed were brutal for the fishing village. The economy collapsed entirely. Banks began calling in loans. Families ran out of food. And then one morning, Uncle Chen appeared outside Jafean's company headquarters, leading a group of fishermen, waving banners and screaming, "Unscrupulous boss! Give us back our hard-earned money!" Passers-by stopped and stared. Phones came out. People pointed. Jafean stood at his office window, looking down at the chaos below. Lin Yao stepped in behind him. Director, should we call the police? Let them riot, he said calmly. They'll leave when they get tired. And then his phone rang. It was Ashua, and her voice was shaking. Chief Ann, the kingfish is gone. It was in the cage last night when I checked. This morning, it's just gone. That was my top quality croaker. I was saving it for the auction. It's worth at least 500,000 yuan. Jafean already knew who took it. He pulled up the surveillance footage, and there was Suyin, moving through the dark with 2 accomplices, professional tools in hand, lifting the prized fish from the cage with the precision of someone who had planned this carefully. Lin Yao stood behind him. Should we report it now? No, Jafean said, his eyes still fixed on Suyin's arrogant expression on the screen. He's going to take that fish to the high-stakes auction in the city. He thinks this is his way back, his last play to turn everything around. He paused. Let him go. Lin Yao stared at him. Director Ann, what exactly are you planning? Jafean turned to her slowly, a quiet smile on his face. Don't forget, every prime yellowtail in that cage has a microchip implanted beneath its scales. Lin Yao's eyes went wide. Then she smiled too. Notify Mr. Li, Jafean said. I'll be attending tonight's auction personally. That evening, the most luxurious hotel in the city blazed with light. The seafood auction was underway. Hotel owners, wealthy merchants, industry heavyweights filling every seat. seat. Jafayan sat in a private VIP box, watching through tinted glass, and there was Suyin, hunched in a corner seat, trying his best to look invisible. A sleek designer cooler sitting in front of him like a secret. The auctioneer's voice rang out across the hall. Our next item is very special. A 4-kilogram prime wild yellowtail. Starting price, 100,000 yuan. Suyan's hand shot up instantly. This is my fish. The auctioneer blinked. Sir, you? Suyan was already on his feet, opening the cooler. Inside, Ashua's croaker gleamed under the auction lights, massive and perfect. The room erupted. Look at the size of it. That's extraordinary quality. The auctioneer inspected it and straightened up with barely contained excitement. It truly is top quality. Very well, by the rules. New starting price, 150,000. Suyan's chest swelled with pride. He was trembling. 160,000, 180,000, 200,000. The paddles flew up, the number climbed, and then a voice cut through the entire room like a blade. Just a moment. Every hand froze. Every head turned. The voice had come through the loudspeakers from the VIP box above. The auctioneer looked up. Sir, you have something to indicate? The door to the VIP box opened. Footsteps on the stairs. And then Jafayan walked into the auction hall. The room went completely still. Suyan saw him. Every drop of color drained from his face. Chief Ann, what are you doing here? Jafayan didn't even look at him. He walked straight to the auctioneer's platform, reached into his jacket, and produced a small handheld scanner. Mr. Auctioneer, please scan the fish. The auctioneer took it curiously, held it over the croaker, and pressed the button. A sharp beep. Then data flooded the screen at the front of the hall. Chip number, AU240315. Registered owner, Ashua. Registration date, 3 months ago. The murmurs began immediately, rippling through the crowd like a wave. Jafayan turned to Suyin, unhurried, unshakable. Mr. Su, can you explain to everyone here why Ashua's fish is in your possession? Suyan's lips moved. I was auctioning it on her behalf. Jafayan pulled out his phone without another word. He dialed, put it on speaker. Ashua, did you instruct Suyin to auction your fish tonight? A beat of silence. Then Ashua's voice, clear as a bell. No, Jafayan. My fish was stolen last night. I was about to file a police report. Not a single sound in the room. Jafayan looked at Suyin for a long moment, then quietly, did you hear that? Suyan's legs gave out. He collapsed to his knees right there on the auction floor, his whole body shaking. Jafayan, I was wrong. I was completely wrong, please. Now you know you were wrong, Jafayan said, ice in every syllable. It's too late. He turned to the auctioneer. Please call the police. That fish is stolen property. The hall erupted. Whispers became conversations. Wealthy merchants leaned together, shaking their heads. In less than 10 minutes, officers arrived at the entrance. Suyin was pulled to his feet, cuffed, and led out, still shouting back over his shoulder. Jafayan, please. I have elderly parents. I have children. Please. Jafayan didn't turn around. And then, a voice from somewhere in the crowd. Wait, isn't that the heir to the An Group? He controls the entire seafood supply chain across Asia. I thought he was just an ordinary buyer this whole time. The room shifted. The energy changed entirely. Mr. Lee cut through the crowd immediately, business card extended with both hands. His entire demeanor transformed. Director Ann, I had no idea you'd come in person. Please forgive my lack of respect. Jafayan took the card calmly. Mr. Lee, I only came to resolve a personal matter. Mr. Lee lowered his voice. Director, about long-term supply arrangements. You name the price. Whatever you say. Jafayan studied him for a moment. It's not that I don't want to cooperate, Mr. Lee. The problem is that fishing village. The management is completely chaotic. Quality can't be guaranteed. Mr. Lee frowned. That chaotic? I'm going to reorganize it, Jafayan said simply. Build a standardized breeding and purchasing system from the ground up. Mr. Lee's eyes lit up. Director Ann, does that mean what I think it means? Jafayan let a small smile form. I can try, but there's one condition. Every fisherman in that village accepts my management, my rules. No more improvising, no more last-minute price changes, no more contracted chaos. Mr. Lee nodded immediately. That's easy. I can help you convince them. Jafayan shook his head slowly. There's no need, Jafayan said simply. They'll come begging me soon enough. And he was right. The very next morning, Uncle Chen received an ultimatum from the bank. 3 days. Pay up or lose everything. The boats, the cages, all of it. The fishermen gathered in a panic, voices overlapping, hands shaking. What do we do? The fish are all dead. How do we pay anything? It's Suyan's fault. That wretch destroyed us. Uncle Chen sank to the floor like a man whose soul had left his body. And then Ashua pulled up to the dock in a brand new car. The fisherman stared. "Thanks to Chief Ann," she said, stepping out with a calm smile. "I sold my batch of fish for over 2 million yuan." The silence that followed was deafening. Uncle Chen's voice cracked. "Ashwa, you only had a few thousand kilos? How is that possible?" Ashwa stood a little straighter. "Chief Ann took my fish directly to Mr. Lee's luxury restaurant. Mr. Lee paid 8,000 yuan per kilo and wants a long-term partnership." The regret hit every single fisherman at the same time. It was written all over their faces. They had stood on this same dock screaming about freedom of contract, threatening to throw the fish back into the sea. And meanwhile, Ashwa had walked away with 2 million yuan. If we had just listened, if we hadn't trusted Suyin. Uncle Chen grabbed Ashwa's arm. "Ashwa, please, talk to Chief Ann for us. Ask him to give us one more chance." Ashwa hesitated. "Uncle Chen, it's not that I don't want to help, but you all went too far. Boss Ann wants nothing to do with any of you right now." The fishermen looked at each other helplessly. Ashwa thought for a moment. "Maybe, if you went to him yourselves. A real apology. A sincere one." Uncle Chen gritted his teeth. "Then we go, right now." That afternoon, Uncle Chen led a dozen fishermen to Jafean's company building. But this time there were no banners, no shouting, no performance. They knelt at the entrance. "Boss Ann, please come down and see us." Passers-by stopped and took pictures. Up in his office, Lin Yao looked at Jafean and reached for the phone. "Should I have security send them away?" Jafean shook his head. "Let them kneel. They'll leave when they get tired." But they didn't leave. 1 hour passed, then 2, then 3. The sun beat down without mercy. Several of the older fishermen swayed dangerously, faces red, nearly overcome by the heat. Ashwa couldn't take it anymore. She came upstairs. "Jafean, please, just see them. They're truly sorry." Jafean looked at her. "Ashwa, you're too soft. Do you remember how they treated you? How they threatened you on that dock?" She lowered her head. "I know, but they're my people. I grew up with them." A long silence. Then Jafean exhaled slowly. "Fine, let them come up, but I want something made clear first." Ashwa rushed back downstairs. Minutes later, Uncle Chen and the fishermen filed into the office. Dirty, sunburned, heads bowed. They knelt before Jafean's desk without being asked. "Jafean, we were blind. We were greedy. Please give us another chance." Jafean sat in his chair and looked at them without any warmth. "Another chance? I already gave you one. You threw it away." Uncle Chen pressed his forehead to the floor. "Tell us what to do. We'll do anything. We just want to survive." Jafean stood slowly and walked to the window, his back to them. "You want to survive? Fine. But this time it's under my rules and my rules alone." He turned around. "From today, you are no longer independent fishermen. You are employees of my company. I purchase all the fish at standardized prices. You raise them by my standards. No negotiations, no freelancing, no surprises." The fishermen exchanged uneasy glances. One muttered quietly, "At least we'd be making money, right?" Jafean's smile was razor thin. "Making money? Right now you can barely stay above water, and you're already dreaming of fortunes?" Uncle Chen shook his head quickly. "Chief, as long as we can pay off the bank, we'll accept whatever terms you give." "Good. Then sign the contract." Lin Yao stepped forward and placed a stack of documents on the table. The fishermen picked them up, and as they read, the color drained from their faces one by one. The terms were brutal. They would raise fish strictly to Jafean specifications. No base salary. All equipment and dock usage rights transferred to his company. Every fish sold exclusively through him. Uncle Chen's hands trembled as he set the papers down. "Chiefin, this is more than just becoming employees. This is..." Jafean's voice was flat. "If you don't want to sign, don't. No one is forcing. Nobody moved. Nobody reached for the pen." Then a young fisherman stepped forward. "No, I won't sign this. This will ruin us." Others started murmuring. "Our ancestors were always their own bosses. We've never worked for anyone." Uncle Chen wavered. "Boss Ann, couldn't you soften the terms, even slightly?" Jafean didn't say a word. He walked to the large screen on the wall and picked up the remote. The video that appeared made every fisherman go rigid. There they were on the dock, blocking the live water tanks. Voices loud and proud. 15,000 per catfish. That's robbery. Throw it back into the sea. We won't sell to you. Without you, the world keeps turning. Line by line. Face by face. Their own words played back to them in full. Cheeks reddened around the room. Jafean switched to the next clip. The fisherman standing outside his company with banners, screaming, "Corrupt boss, give us back our money." He turned off the screen. "This is who you are, and you still want to negotiate terms with me." Uncle Chen stared at the floor. "Boss, we were wrong. I was wrong." "Wrong," Jafean repeated. "Yes, and it's too late for that now. You have two choices in front of you. you. Sign the contract and work under me, or wait for the bank to take everything you have left. That's it." Silence filled the room. Then Ashwa walked forward, took the pen, and signed. Everyone watched her. "The boss helped me when no one else did," she said clearly. "Working with him means we won't starve. That's enough for me." Uncle Chen watched her for a long moment. Then he closed his eyes, exhaled, and reached for the pen. One by one, the others followed. Signatures filled the pages. Only the young fisherman refused. His jaw was set, his eyes hard. "I still don't believe it. We can't really survive without him." He turned and walked out. Jafayan watched him go and said nothing. "Suit yourself. I don't need everyone." He looked around at those who remained. Contracts signed in front of them. "From tomorrow, you follow my rules. If anyone tries to pull tricks again, you're out. Immediately. No second conversation." The fishermen answered in unison. "Yes, Chief Ann." Jafayan turned to Liniao. "Clear their bank debt. Deduct it from future wages with interest." Uncle Chen choked up completely, his eyes filling with tears. "Chief Ann, you're truly our savior." "Don't thank me yet," Jafayan said without looking at him. "Every yuan gets paid back with interest." Uncle Chen nodded over and over. "That's fair. That's completely fair." After they left, Liniao leaned against the door frame. "Jafayan, aren't you worried they'll rebel again?" Jafayan didn't look up from the documents on his desk. "If they dare rebel this time, I'll make sure they can never return to that fishing village." Then Liniao held out a new document. "Speaking of which, an order just came in from Mr. Li. 5,000 kilos of top-quality yellowtail. He's offering 10,000 yuan per kilo." Jafayan scanned the page. "Tell Mr. Li, delivery in 1 month. Quality guaranteed." Liniao hesitated. "But Jafayan, the fishing village's current capacity isn't enough to fill that order." Jafayan stood up. "Then they work flat out. If the quota isn't met, it comes out of their pay." The next morning, Jafayan arrived at the fishing village himself. The fishermen straightened up the moment they saw him, greeting him with quiet, respectful nods. He walked straight to the dock. "Starting today, every fish is raised to my specifications. Work begins at 6 a.m. and ends at 8 p.m. Every fish gets inspected individually. Anything below standard gets rejected." The fisherman shifted. Someone muttered, "Chief, that standard is quite strict." Jafayan turned with a calm, cold smile. "Do you know what Mr. Li is paying for each kilo?" "Payment is per fish," Jafayan said calmly. "Every fish that meets the standard earns you 500 yuan. Every fish that doesn't earns you nothing." The fisherman snapped to attention immediately. "Understood, Chief. We'll work hard." Jafayan turned to leave, and then he spotted him. The young fisherman who had refused to sign was lurking near the edge of the dock, pretending to watch casually. Jafayan walked over. "What are you doing here?" The young man stumbled over his words. "I just wanted to see how the others are working." Jafayan looked at him with a thin smile. "See for yourself. Didn't you say you could live without me?" The young fisherman's face went red. He dropped his gaze. "Chief, I was wrong. Can I still sign the contract?" Too late. The young fisherman's composure cracked completely. "Chief Ann, please. I have elderly parents. I have children. If I can't work, we won't survive." Jafayan turned to leave. "That was your decision. Don't blame others." The young fisherman fell to his knees right there on the dock. "Jafayan, I truly admit my mistake." Jafayan stopped walking. He didn't turn around. A long silence stretched between them. "If you want to sign, you can, but you'll do the hardest work for the lowest pay. 3-month trial period. One wrong move, and you're out immediately. No discussion." The young fisherman nodded frantically. "I accept. I accept everything." Jafayan finally turned around. "Then go find Liniao. Sign the contract." The young man scrambled to his feet, thanking him over and over as he hurried away. Ashwa drifted over with a quiet smile. "Jafayan, you do have a soft heart after all." Jafayan glanced at her. "It's not a soft heart. It's one last chance. If he doesn't take it seriously, there's no going back." The fishing village roared back to life. Fishermen were on the docks before dawn, moving with an urgency nobody had seen from them before. The fear of losing wages was a powerful motivator. They checked water temperatures, adjusted feed ratios, monitored the cages with obsessive care. Then Liniao appeared at Jafayan's side one morning, her expression tight. "Chief Ann, I need to inform you of something. Last night, someone tried to damage the net cages. The underwater warning radar picked it up." Jafayan's eyes sharpened. "Who?" Liniao pulled up the surveillance footage. Several shadowy figures moved through the dark water, cutting cage ropes with precision tools. Jafayan zoomed in on the lead figure's face. "Chief Han, that man came back," Liniao said quietly. Jafayan smiled without warmth. "Call the police. Right now. Someone is sabotaging licensed fishing facilities. facilities, and I have every second of it on camera. Within half an hour, a police boat cut through the water toward Chief Han's vessel. He was still at work, completely unaware, when the lights surrounded him. Officer, this is a misunderstanding. The cameras recorded everything. You still want to deny it? When they brought him ashore, Chief Han looked up and saw Jaffayan standing on the dock, arms folded, watching. It was you who called the police, he spat. Did you expect me to just watch you destroy my cages? Jaffayan walked toward him slowly. Chief Han, you have no moves left. He turned to the officers. This man doesn't just sabotage fishing facilities. He previously treated dead fish with chemicals and sold them as fresh product. I have documented proof. Lin Yao stepped forward and handed over a thick file. The lead officer flipped through it, his expression growing darker with each page. This is extremely serious. We'll need to continue this at the station. Chief Han began to panic. Wait, I made a mistake. I'll cooperate. Nobody listened. The officers walked him away. Lin Yao watched them go. Chief Han is probably looking at real prison time this time. Jaffayan nodded. Food safety violations carry 3 to 5 years minimum and will be pursuing full asset seizure to compensate every consumer he defrauded. The fishermen on the dock had watched the whole thing in stunned silence. Chief An is ruthless, someone murmured. Uncle Chen edged forward carefully. Chief, you've really done right by this village. Jaffayan looked at him. Uncle Chen, focus on your work. Stop thinking about nonsense. Yes, I will work hard. Over the next 2 weeks, the transformation was extraordinary. The fishermen worked with a focus and intensity that nobody would have predicted from the same men who had once cheered Jaffayan's departure. Every morning, Jaffayan walked the docks personally, inspecting fish one by one. The first few days, rejections came frequently. Chief, this fish is already very good. Why didn't it pass? Jaffayan held the fish up. Look at the scales. The color isn't golden enough. That means insufficient nutrition. And look at the eyes. Not clear. That means water quality problems. He set it down. If I take this to Mr. Li, it ruins my reputation. Take it back. The fishermen stopped arguing. They started checking water quality twice a day. They recalculated feed ratios. They stopped cutting corners on anything. Gradually, the rejection rate dropped, then dropped again. One morning, Jaffayan stood looking at a full cage of bright, golden, perfectly healthy yellowtail gleaming in the morning light. He nodded slowly. Good, keep it up. The fisherman practically beamed. Ashwa appeared at his shoulder. Boss, Mr. Li's deadline is approaching. I checked the numbers. In about 3 more days, we'll hit 2,500 kilos. Then the next morning arrived, and so did disaster. Uncle Chen came sprinting toward Jaffayan before the sun was fully up, face white as paper. Chief, something's wrong. Mass fish kill in the cages. Jaffayan was already moving. He reached the cages and found dozens of fish floating belly up. He pulled one out and examined it closely. The gills were completely black. Poison. Get me the water quality report. Lin Yao had it ready in seconds. The data was clean. The water was fine. This wasn't an accident. Jaffayan pulled up the overnight surveillance footage in silence, and there it was. A figure moving quietly along the cages in the dark, pouring something into the water. He zoomed in. The young fisherman. A cold smile crossed Jaffayan's face. He had given that boy a chance, and the boy had chosen this. He summoned him immediately. The young fisherman arrived looking relaxed, completely unaware that anything had been discovered. You were looking for me, Chief? Jaffayan stared at him. Where were you last night? Home, sleeping. Is that right? Jaffayan pressed play on the footage. The young fisherman watched himself on screen, clear as day, pouring poison into the cages. His face drained of color. His legs gave out. He hit the floor on his knees. Jaffayan, I made a mistake. Someone paid me 50,000 yuan to do it. I needed the money. Who? The young fisherman trembled. One of Suyan's friends. He said he wanted revenge on you. Lin Yao stepped forward. Jaffayan, Suyan is still in custody, but he clearly still has people on the outside. Jaffayan nodded slowly. Then it's time to cut the root. He looked down at the young fisherman one final time. Your contract is canceled. Leave this town today. I never want to see you here again. Chief, please, one more chance. I already gave you one. Jaffayan turned away. Remove him. The young fisherman was dragged out, still pleading. Jaffayan turned to Lin Yao. Investigate every single one of Suyan's connections. Leave nobody out. I want him completely finished. Lin Yao nodded, then looked at the dead fish floating in the cage, calculating the loss quietly. This time, Jaffayan said, almost to himself, I'll make sure Suyan never gets up again. But despite the setback, the village pushed through. Mr. Lee's order was completed and delivered on time. When the fish arrived, Mr. Lee called personally. Chief Ann, the quality of this batch exceeded my expectations. Jaffayan smiled. As long as you're satisfied, Mr. Lee. Mr. Lee dropped his voice. Actually, Chief, I have something bigger in mind. I'm opening a 3 Michelin star restaurant. I need a stable, long-term premium supply. Price is no concern. Jaffayan thought for a moment. Mr. Lee, I'd love to, but our current production capacity has limits. I understand. But if you can scale up, I'm willing to prepay an entire year up front. Jaffayan's eyes sharpened. How much? 50 million. Jaffayan extended his hand. Deal. He called a village meeting that same afternoon. Every fisherman gathered around, curious and quiet. I have good news, Jaffayan announced. A major order has come in. We need to triple production capacity. That means your income triples too. The energy in the room lifted immediately. To expand, I'll be investing 20 million to develop the pier and upgrade the facilities. But there is a condition. Silence. From this point forward, all operating rights for the fishing village belong to me entirely. Your role is raising and fishing. All income is split proportionally. I take 70%. You take 30%. The murmuring started immediately. That's basically handing the whole village over to him. Uncle Chen shifted uncomfortably. Jaffayan, that percentage is quite significant. Jaffayan smiled with absolute calm. Uncle Chen, let me ask you something. With my technology, my facilities, my capital, could you raise premium yellowtail to this standard on your own? Could you sell it for 10,000 yuan per kilo? Could you land a 50 million yuan order? Uncle Chen had nothing to say. I invest 20 million. I take all the risk. You raise fish and collect steady income. Tell me exactly where that's unfair. The room went quiet again. Then Ashwa stood up. I agree. Chief Ann is right. Without him, we are nothing. One by one, the others nodded. Even Uncle Chen exhaled and gave in. Fine, we'll do as the chief says. Good, Jaffayan said. Sign the new contracts. Lin Yao laid the documents out across the table. The fisherman began stepping forward, pen in hand. And then the entrance erupted. Stand back. Everyone move. Suyin stormed in with several men behind him, eyes burning with fury. The fisherman froze. Suyin, how are you out already? Suyin's smile was sharp as a blade. Why wouldn't I be? And today I've come for justice. He pointed directly at Jaffayan. You're using a technology monopoly to force fishermen into signing unequal contracts. That is illegal. Jaffayan looked at him with something close to amusement. Mr. Su, causing trouble again. Suyin produced a stack of documents and held them high. This lawsuit was drafted by my attorney. I'm suing you for illegal monopoly and trade coercion. The room shifted. The fisherman, who had just been nodding in agreement, began to waver. He might have a point. 70-30 does seem a bit much. We do all the labor. He takes the bigger share. Even Uncle Chen began to hesitate. Boss, maybe we should discuss the terms again? Jaffayan looked around at the wavering faces. He said nothing for a moment. Then he took out his phone. He dialed Mr. Lee. Mr. Lee, I'm sorry. I won't be able to accept the 50 million order. Mr. Lee's voice came through, surprised and confused. Why not? The fishermen feel the percentage I'm offering them is too low. They don't want to continue the arrangement. A pause. Then Mr. Lee sighed. What a shame. I was actually planning to introduce you to several Michelin restaurant owners as well. I'll have to find another supplier. Best of luck, Chief Ann. The call ended. Jaffayan set the phone down on the table and looked slowly around the room. You all heard that. A 50 million yuan order. Gone. The fishermen looked like they'd been punched. Uncle Chen lurched forward. Mr. Ann, don't do this. We didn't mean... I'm not joking, Jaffayan said, his voice perfectly steady. Since you think the arrangement is unfair, then we have no business. I'm canceling all contracts. I'm withdrawing every investment. Chaos broke out immediately. Voices overlapping, hands reaching out, eyes wide with panic. And through it all, Suyin stood at the back of the room with a cold, satisfied smile spreading across his face. Suyin stood his ground, chin raised, eyes burning with defiance. You think we can't survive without you? Jaffayan looked at him for a long moment. Then, very calmly, he said, without my technology and my distribution channels, tell me exactly how you plan to sell the fish. Suyin smiled proudly. I've already made calls. Several seafood traders are ready to buy at 3,000 yuan per kilo. The fishermen's faces lit up instantly. 3,000 per kilo. That was real money. Jaffayan smiled. Just smiled. Then I wish you a very successful partnership. He turned and walked out. Lin Yao fell into step beside him, lowering her voice. Boss Ann, are you really gonna let them go? No, you're abandoning the entire investment. I want them to see for themselves, Jafayan said quietly, who the real leeches are. He didn't have to wait long. Not even 2 days passed before the traders Suyin had brought showed their true colors. They demanded a 50,000 yuan deposit up front from the fishermen, and the promised purchase price had quietly dropped from 3,000 yuan per kilo to 2,000. The fishermen erupted. Suyin, you said 3,000 per kilo. What is this? Suyin looked genuinely stunned for once. They told me market conditions changed. I didn't know. Uncle Chen grabbed him by the collar, shaking with fury. You liar! You've destroyed us again! The fisherman closed in. Suyin scrambled backward, arms raised over his head. It wasn't me. They tricked me too. But nobody wanted to hear it. He turned and ran, disappearing from the dock as fast as his legs would carry him. Uncle Chen sank to the ground. Tears ran freely down his weathered face. It's over. This time it's really, truly over. Ashwa stood nearby, watching the scene with a heavy heart. I told you all. Following Chief Ann was the only way forward, but nobody wanted to listen. Uncle Chen reached out and grabbed her hand desperately. Ashwa, please, can you ask Chief Ann one more time? Ashwa shook her head slowly. I can't keep doing this. You've already made Chief Ann lose too much. And then the sky above the coast turned dark. An emergency weather alert blasted across every phone on the dock. A high-intensity typhoon was approaching. Expected landfall in 3 days. The silence that followed was total. Then someone's voice broke. The floating cages won't survive a typhoon like that. We'll lose everything that's left. Uncle Chen stared at the black clouds building on the horizon, tears streaming down his face without a sound. Then Suyin appeared again from somewhere at the edge of the crowd, and even now, even after everything, he opened his mouth. This is all Chief Ann's fault. If he hadn't withdrawn his investment, Uncle Chen spun around and grabbed him by the collar so fast nobody could react. You still have the nerve to speak. His voice was shaking. When Chief Ann guaranteed our income during the closed season, where were you? When he invested 1.2 million in this pier, where were you? When he gave us the deep sea cages, where were you? He gave us everything, and you stood here and convinced us to repay his kindness with betrayal. Suyin's mouth opened. Nothing came out. Uncle Chen pointed a trembling finger at him. I'm telling you right now, get out of this fishing village today and never come back. The fishermen erupted as one voice. Get out! We don't want you here! Suyin turned and fled with his tail between his legs. Uncle Chen watched him go. Then the weight of everything crashed back down on his shoulders. He turned to Ashwa, his voice barely above a whisper. Ashwa, one last time, please. Ashwa looked at the people she had grown up with, kneeling in the dirt in front of her, and felt her heart break just a little. I'll try, she said quietly, but I cannot promise any. That same moment, Jafayan was in his office, studying the typhoon's projected path on a large screen. Lineao stood beside him. Director Ann, the typhoon arrives the day after tomorrow. The fishing village will take a direct hit. Jafayan studied the map. Let them face the consequences. Then, a knock at the door. Ashwa walked in, and before Jafayan could say a word, she went down on her knees. Boss, the villagers know they were wrong. They've driven out the troublemakers themselves. I'm begging you, for the sake of everything we've built here, give them one last chance. Jafayan looked at her for a long time. Ashwa, you're too soft. They've betrayed me again and again. Every time there's trouble, they come crawling back. Why should I keep saving people who won't save themselves? Ashwa lowered her head. I know they don't deserve it, but if the typhoon hits and they lose everything, there's no coming back from that. A long silence filled the room. Then Jafayan spoke. Whatever conditions I set, they agree to. No negotiation, no hesitation. Ashwa nodded immediately. Whatever you say. Jafayan reached into a drawer and slid a document across the desk. New cooperation agreement. Every fisherman signs and provides a fingerprint. From today, they are no longer partners. They are employees. I take 80% of all profits. They receive 20%. And if anyone tries to betray me again, I will make sure they have nothing left to return to. Ashwa's eyes went wide as she read the terms. Boss, isn't this a little too harsh? Jafayan's voice was ice. Too harsh? Then they can wait for the typhoon. Ashwa closed her eyes, picked up the document, and walked back to the village. When the fishermen read the terms, the room went very quiet. 80 to 20. That's nothing. We do all the labor and walk away with 20%? Uncle Chen snatched the document, picked up the pen, and signed without blinking. His fingerprint followed. Sign it, he said to the room. All of you. Chief Ann is still willing to help us after everything we've done. That is the favor of a lifetime. Without him, we wouldn't even have 20% to argue about. We'd have nothing. One by one, shaking hands, hands reached for the pen. One by one, they signed. Ashwa brought the agreement back to Jafayan. He looked at the rows of fingerprints on the page, and a quiet, cold smile crossed his face. Good. Tell them I'll send a team tomorrow to reinforce the cages. And tell them clearly, one more trick, one more stunt, and I will make sure they regret it for the rest of their lives. The next morning, Jafayan arrived at the fishing village with his technical team. The fishermen lined up on either side of the path, standing straight, voices respectful. Good morning, Chief Ann. Jafayan walked past them without a word and went straight to the cages. He directed his team to immediately transfer every fish from the standard cages into the specially designed storm-resistant deep-sea cages, the ones he had given the village months ago. The fishermen watched as the technicians worked, and slowly the realization crept across their faces. These cages weren't just gifts. They had been engineered specifically for moments like this. Special materials, reinforced structure, built to automatically submerge into deep water when storm pressure hit the surface, keeping the fish safe below the reach of any typhoon. Uncle Chen stared at the cages, eyes glistening. He thought of us from the very beginning. The other fishermen stood with their heads bowed, unable to speak. Jafayan's voice cut through the quiet. Now you understand? It's a little late. Do your jobs well. Don't disappoint me again. The fishermen answered together, low and sincere. Yes, Chief. That night the typhoon arrived. The entire coastline went dark. Winds screamed across the water. Waves crashed over the docks. Neighboring fishing villages lost everything. Cages torn open. Fish gone. Entire livelihoods destroyed in a single night. But beneath the surface of the water, in the deep sea cages Jafayan had designed, every single fish was alive, untouched, perfectly safe. When dawn broke and the storm passed, Jafayan led the fishermen out to inspect the cages. When they saw the fish still jumping in the water, bright and alive, the crying started immediately. Uncle Chen fell to his knees before Jafayan, pressing his forehead to the dock. Chief Ann, you are our savior. You have always been our savior. The other fishermen knelt behind him, one after another. From this day forward, we work hard. We never betray you again. We swear it. Jafayan looked down at them, his expression unreadable for a long moment. Remember what you've said today, because there will not be another chance after this. Not ever. He turned to Lin Yao. Assess all the damage. Compensate what needs compensating. Repair what needs repairing. And notify Mr. Li that supply continues as scheduled. Lin Yao nodded. Understood. Jafayan turned back to the sea, and for just a moment a quiet smile touched the corner of his lips. The word spread fast. Surrounding fishing villages had been devastated, but this one village stood completely unharmed. Fishermen from neighboring towns came to see it with their own eyes, staring at the intact cages in disbelief. Uncle Chen told them everything. The deep sea storm resistant cages, the technology, the man who had designed them and given them away as a gift. The visitors shook their heads in amazement. You were incredibly lucky to have a man like that. Uncle Chen looked at the water and sighed deeply. It wasn't luck. We almost drove him away, and if we had, none of us would have anything left today. And then, like a bad dream that kept returning, Suyin appeared at the village entrance. This time he had brought company. A middle-aged man in a sharp suit walked beside him, briefcase in hand. Everyone, allow me to introduce Lawyer Zhan, a specialist in labor litigation. The fishermen's expressions hardened the moment they saw Suyin's face. You dare come back here? Suyin smiled, completely unbothered. Why wouldn't I? I'm here to fight for your rights. He pointed straight at Jafayan. That man forced you to sign an illegal contract. An 80-20 split is textbook labor exploitation. Lawyer John has confirmed it. That contract is legally invalid. Lawyer John adjusted his glasses and cleared his throat. That's correct. Under labor law, employers cannot coerce workers into signing unequal agreements. You have every legal right to sue for a fairer redistribution of profits. A murmur moved through the crowd. Some faces shifted. I mean, if we could get a bigger share. The 80-20 does feel low when you say it out loud. Uncle Chen stepped forward immediately, pointing at Suyin with a shaking finger. Enough. What more could you possibly want? If it wasn't for Chief Ann, we would all be dead right now. Our fish would be gone. Our livelihoods would be gone. We would be sitting in the wreckage of a typhoon with nothing. And you want to sue the man who saved us? Suyin smiled coolly. Uncle Chen, the boss has completely brainwashed you. You do all the work and walk away with 20%. You're being used. Lawyer John nodded along. You have rights. The law is on your side. Uncle Chen trembled with rage. He opened his mouth, then snapped it shut, turned around, and walked away. I'm not listening to this. Ashwa followed without a word. I want no part of this either. But the others stayed. Swayed by Suyan's voice, unsettled by the numbers, they listened. And one by one, they signed the power of attorney lawyer Jean placed in front of them. Suyan looked at the signatures with deep satisfaction. In 3 days, we file formally. He looked toward Jafayan's direction with a smug, cold smile. Let's see how you handle this one, Chief Anne. The news reached Jafayan within the hour. Lin Yao stood in his office, barely containing her frustration. Chief Anne, these people are truly unbelievable. You saved their lives. You saved their fish. You saved their entire village. And now they're suing you. Jafayan set down the document he was reading. A slow, quiet smile spread across his face. Let them sue. Lin Yao blinked. I, Jafayan said simply, have a few things I'd like to say in court as well. Lin Yao stared at him. Chief Anne, aren't you even angry? Jafayan shook his head slowly. What's the point of anger? These people don't change until they've hit rock bottom. Get all the materials ready. I'll show them what it looks like to throw a stone and have it land on your own head. 3 days later, the courtroom was packed. Lawyer Jean stood before the judge with the confidence of a man who believed he had already won. Your Honor, Chief, and used his technological monopoly to coerce my clients into signing a deeply unequal contract. An 80-20 profit split is completely unreasonable and constitutes a serious violation of workers' rights. I request that this contract be declared null and void, and that Chiefin be ordered to compensate my clients for all losses suffered. The fishermen sat in the gallery, nudging each other quietly. This was it. This time, they were going to win. More money was coming. The judge turned to Jafayan. The defense, do you have anything to say? Jafayan stood up, completely calm. Your Honor, I have evidence to present. Lin Yao stepped forward and placed a thick folder on the table. Jafayan flipped it open. This is the complete record of every investment my company has made in that fishing village. He read them out one by one. Deep water, cold chain dock. 1.2 million yuan, typhoon-resistant deep-sea cages. 800,000 yuan. Oxygenation systems and preservation equipment. 500,000 yuan. Technical training and staff salaries. 300,000 yuan. He closed the folder. Total investment, 2.8 million yuan. Every piece of equipment bears my company's name. It is my property. The fishermen use my equipment for breeding, and I purchase their catch at agreed prices. This is a standard business arrangement. There was no coercion of any kind. Lawyer Jean pounced immediately, but an 80% share is clearly unreasonable regardless of investment. Jafayan turned to look at him directly. Unreasonable? Allow me to ask a few simple questions. Without my team's expertise, could these fishermen raise premium-grade yellowtail to Michelin restaurant standards? Without my distribution network, could they sell that fish for 10,000 yuan per kilo? And when the typhoon struck, without my specially engineered cages, would any of their fish still be alive right now? Lawyer John's mouth opened and closed. Jafayan pressed forward. I invested 2.8 million yuan. I absorbed every financial risk. I provided every piece of technology and every sales channel. They contributed their labor, assumed zero financial risk, and still walked away with 20% of all profits. When the typhoon caused losses, I covered them. The fishermen paid nothing, and you're standing here calling that unfair. Lin Yao placed a second document on the table. Your Honor, this is an audio recording from the moment the contract was signed. The recording played through the courtroom speakers. Jafayan's voice was unmistakable and crystal clear. If you don't want to sign, don't sign. I am not forcing anyone. The fishermen in the gallery shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Several stared at the floor. The judge looked at the plaintiff's side. Is what the defendant has presented accurate? Stammering. Silence. No coherent answer. Lawyer Jean made one final attempt. Your Honor, even with voluntary agreement, an 80% share remains inherently disproportionate. The judge raised a hand. Under contract law, agreements voluntarily entered into by both parties, provided they do not violate existing statutes, are legally binding and valid. The plaintiff has not demonstrated any legal grounds for the claim presented. The motion is denied. The gavel came down. The fishermen sat in stunned silence. A few looked at each other with hollow eyes. We lost? Jafayan was already gathering his documents when he noticed Suyan quietly trying to disappear toward the exit. Mr. Pursue. Suyin froze mid-step. Don't leave just yet. We have things to discuss. Jafayan walked toward him slowly, each step deliberate. You've been working against me from the very beginning. Did you think I didn't know what you were really after? Suyin's face had gone pale. I don't know what you're talking about. Jafayan smiled without warmth. Then let me explain it for you. Chief Han paid you 500,000 yuan to incite the fishermen into breaking the contract. You stole Ashua's prize fish and tried to auction it to pay off your own debts. You hired someone to poison the cages to get revenge on me. And now you've hired a lawyer to drag me into court, trying once again to tear down everything I've built. He paused. And every single time, you've failed. Suyin's voice came out barely above a whisper. You have no proof. Lin Yao stepped forward and set a final document on the table between them. Chief Han's bank transfer records, 500,000 yuan. Recipient is your account. She laid another sheet beside it. Surveillance footage of you meeting with the young fisherman you paid to poison the cages. Another sheet. Your private chat logs with lawyer Zhan. Every conversation, time-stamped and saved. Suyin stared at the evidence spread before him. His legs buckled. He went down onto his knees right there in the middle of the courtroom. Jafayan, please? I can't take any more. I'm begging you. Jafayan looked down at him for a long moment. No anger, no satisfaction, just cold, quiet finality. It's too late for that. He turned to the officer standing nearby. This individual is implicated in multiple criminal offenses: bribery, theft, malicious property destruction, and conspiracy. Please take him in for investigation. The officer moved forward immediately. The handcuffs clicked into place. As they led Suyin toward the door, he cried out over his shoulder, voice cracking completely. Jafayan, I was wrong. I know I was wrong. Please. Jafayan didn't watch him go. He turned to face the fisherman still sitting in the gallery, heads bowed, unable to meet his eyes. Gentlemen, this ends today. Go back to work, do it properly, and do not disappoint me again. The fisherman answered as one, low and ashamed. Yes, Chief An. The fishing village that followed was a different place entirely. The air of suspicion was gone. The fishermen worked with their heads down and their hands busy, focused on nothing but the fish. No schemes, no whispers, no outside voices coming in to stir up trouble. Jafayan stood on the dock one morning watching them work when Lin Yao appeared at his side. Chief, Mr. Li is pressing for the next shipment. His Michelin restaurant opens next month. Tell him delivery will be on time. Lin Yao hesitated for just a moment. There's something else I need to tell you. The Meteorological Bureau has issued a new alert. She paused. Another typhoon is coming, but this one is different. They're calling it a once in 10 years super typhoon. Jafayan was quiet for a moment. Then he said, notify all the fishermen. Begin typhoon preparations immediately. Another pause. And contact the chiefs of the nearby fishing villages. Let them know our deep sea cages are available for rent. Lin Yao blinked. Chief, are you helping the other villages? Jafayan looked at her calmly. It's not help, it's business. Rental rate is 10,000 yuan per day. Lin Yao understood instantly. I'll make the calls. The news spread fast. Within a day, the chiefs of several neighboring fishing villages were standing in front of Jafayan, hats in hand. Chief An, we've heard your cages can survive a typhoon like this. We'd like to rent them. You can? Jafayan said, but there are conditions. What conditions? 10,000 yuan per day. 7 days paid in advance. The chiefs looked at each other. Someone let out a sharp breath. 70,000 yuan is far too expensive. Jafayan shrugged. Is it? Calculate what you stand to lose when the typhoon hits. Hundreds of thousands of fish gone in a single night. Tell me exactly what 70,000 yuan is compared to that. Silent. We don't have that kind of cash available right now. Jafayan stood up. Then there's nothing I can do for you. Please see yourselves out. The chiefs scrambled. Chief An, wait, what if we mortgage the fish as collateral? I only accept cash. They gritted their teeth and walked away. Lin Yao watched them go. What if they really can't raise it? Jafayan smiled quietly. If they can't raise 70,000, they'll lose hundreds of thousands instead. And then they'll come back and beg. 2 days later, every single chief returned. Cash in hand, counted out in full. Chief An, we have the money. We'd like to sign the contract. Jafayan looked at the stacks of bills on the table. Then he looked at each of them. Sign the contract. After the papers were signed and the chiefs let out their collective breath, one of them grabbed Jafayan's hand with both of his. Thank you, Chief An. You really saved us. Jafayan looked at him with an expression that gave nothing away. Don't thank me, he said simply. This is business. The village chiefs shifted uncomfortably, exchanged exchanging nervous glances. "We just don't have that much cash available right now." Jaffayan stood up. "Then there is nothing I can do for you. Please leave." The chiefs lurched forward in a panic. "Chief Ann, wait. What if we use the fish as collateral? A mortgage against the catch?" Jaffayan didn't even blink. "I only accept cash." The chiefs gritted their teeth. There was nothing left to argue. They turned and walked away, heads down, dreading every dark cloud on the horizon. Lineal watched them go. "Chief An, what if they genuinely can't pull the money together in time?" Jaffayan smiled quietly. "If they can't find 70,000 yuan, the typhoon will take hundreds of thousands from them in a single night. And after that, they'll come back." He was right. 2 days later, every chief was back at the door, cash in hand, every single note accounted for. "Chief Ann, we have it, all of it. Please let us rent the cages." Jaffayan looked slowly at the stacks of bills on the table. Then he looked up at the men who had complained, argued, walked away, and quietly returned when reality hit them hard enough. "Sign the contract."